Back in the audience now for another question. And this time it comes in a letter from Marie Heithman of Melrose, Florida, who writes, "Would you please explain falling or shooting stars?" Good question. Here to do just that is Dr. Lawrence Rudnick, astronomer and physicist from the University of Minnesota. Good to see you again, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
Want to talk about shooting stars? What are they?
Well, they're not stars. In fact, most of them start out something like this.
This little black pebble here?
That's right. Just a tiny pebble, but it hits the Earth with a fantastic amount of energy, about as much energy as a car hitting a brick wall at 40 miles an hour.
I'm glad I'm not under that when it's falling. How does it produce, then, such a big, you know, flame across the sky?
Right. Well, it glows because of all the friction in the Earth's atmosphere. It's hitting the Earth's atmosphere at about 100,000 miles an hour. The friction with the air causes it to heat up. In fact, I thought we'd take a look at that, brought some salt in, and I'm going to heat that up, and it's going to show us pretty much what a meteor looks like when it gets heated up by the Earth's atmosphere. So if we heat up the salt at about 800 or 1,000 degrees or so, the salt starts to melt,
that's glowing,
vaporize, and starts to glow.
Just like our little meteorite.
That's right.
It's not really burning up, is it?
No,
it doesn't look like it.
It's not burning. It really is just the glowing of the atoms that are coming off the salt, and that's what happens with the meteorites.
Getting a little pool of salt down there as it melts.
That's right.
Where do these little meteorites come from?
Well, most of them come from objects like this.
A comet.
This is a comet, and the comet has a tail of dust that drags along behind it, and what happens is this dust gets left behind as the comet goes around the sun. And the Earth, in its own orbit around the sun, will bump into these clouds of dust that are left behind and give us meteor showers.
Now, I've seen larger meteorites, the big chunky kind, you know. They're not coming from comets, are they?
Something like this.
Something like this. This what? Very heavy metal.
That is mostly iron with a little bit of nickel mixed in, and that is a meteorite.
And it's a little shiny because it was melting on the way down?
That's right.
Wow, whoa.
Okay, and this is another one. In fact, this is a slice of a meteorite that was quite a bit larger, hit the Earth maybe about 50,000 years ago or so.
I'm glad I wasn't under that when that fell down. Right. Where do these larger ones come from? They're not coming from the comets.
No, these larger ones come from a few hundred millions of miles away, the asteroids, that are in orbit between Mars and Jupiter. Every once in a while, a collision between them will set them off their orbits and heading towards the Earth. And so they'll hit our atmosphere, have a big fireball in the sky, and then eventually make their way down to the surface.
Well, thank you, Larry. That was very interesting. Thanks for that stellar explanation of shooting stars. And now it's time to turn back the clock to some memorable moments in science that we affectionately call
everything small scale, dashboard and baggage oh, pardon me, that's the engine back there. Likewise small scale, but providing good speeds at low gas consumption. 45 to the gallon. Light on the purse, too, and very light for those who have trouble parking a normal-sized jalopy. Here's real curb service. San Diego builders of this mighty midget call it the town shopper. There's plenty of room for packages, hence the name. It's almost as easy to open as Milady's purse, and so much easier to find what's inside. Two can shop as easily as one, and three if you don't mind being squeezed. The town shopper saves gas, time, and waste motion. A prize package indeed.
Step in and let's go boating. What we have here may appear to be conventional automobiles, but the German inventor has built-in standard equipment that allows the cars to take to the river and lake like a duck takes to you-know-what. Many prototypes of amphibious cars have been built through the years, but this is the first one to go into actual production. Already, said the manufacturers, thousands of the craft have been ordered, but so far only 7 a day can be produced until new facilities are ready. The car, or the boat, is economical, too. 32 miles to a gallon on land, a gallon and a half an hour on water. Where do you get your license? From the Motor Vehicle Bureau or the Coast Guard?
Can't understand why those never caught on. Now, let's go outside to meet some birds who have been given a new lease on life. I'm out here in the marsh with Nancy Gibson of the Minnesota Zoo. Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
And you'll notice that each of us has an owl in our hands. We're about to release these owls into the wild, but before we do, there's an interesting story behind why we have these owls here now. Nancy, tell us about that.
Okay, well, I'm holding a great horned owl and you're holding a barred owl, and both of them were involved in collision accidents. The barred owl ran into a car and this one ran into a wire. And after that happened, they were lucky, and they were taken to the Raptor Research and Rehabilitation Program by some people. And that's a place where they nurse injured birds back to health and hopefully return them back into the wild.
And to show you how they actually did that, we went to the Raptor Center and watched the kind of loving care they got. A raptor is a bird of prey, such as a hawk, an owl, an eagle, or a falcon. Here at the University of Minnesota, the Raptor Research and Rehabilitation Program has been treating injured birds since 1972.
Humerus here. That's the humerus. See how deformed that part of it is right
Oh,
there?
yeah.
That really is
Yeah, yeah, right off the shoulder. It's
Poor
not
guy.
connected. It broke and then turned 90 degrees and then re-healed.
The injuries occur not because the birds hurt each other, but when the birds encounter people or man-made items, they run afoul of traps, they break their bones on wires and windows, or they're poisoned by lead shotgun pellets.
We're in the examination room right now at the Raptor Center, and this is a great horned owl that was just brought in by Barb Walker. Now, Mark Martell here has already given the bird a preliminary examination and an x-ray, and they know that it's fractured. It's one of its wings. So what they're doing right now is putting it in a splint, and the reason they do that is to prevent any more injury and also just to stabilize it and stabilize the bones.
And they'll actually operate on the bird after
They will
they've got
actually
it?
operate on it. We'll go into the operating room next, as a matter of fact.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Okay.
Surgical repair of a bird's wing requires great skill. If a broken bone is set incorrectly, or if a bone does not knit exactly right, the wing will not have the right shape to fly. Even the slightest stiffness in the wing could prevent the bird from regaining full control.
Here we are in the patient room, and this is where they bring the birds after surgery for any sort of post-operative care, and also if they have to go through any treatment.
As in any good hospital, the birds are given patient and careful treatment lasting 4 to 6 weeks. But that's only half the recovery process. Next comes physical therapy, where repeated exercise strengthens the muscles in their wings. And for that, the birds must make their first trip outdoors in many weeks. How do you know when our owl friend is ready to be released?
Well, what we do is, as we're flying him, we'll watch his wing beats, make sure those look normal, make sure they're strong and even. We'll see how far he can fly and how high he can get up in the air. We'll also watch his breathing when he's landed. We won't chase him up again right away. We'll see how tired he is and how fast he can recover his breathing.
The method used by Mark to exercise the owl is the same one used by falconers for centuries. A 70-foot rope is attached to leather jusses, and the bird is given enough freedom to test and strengthen its healing muscles. All right. I'm eager to see how this works.
Okay.
Let's see if he's strong enough. For the exercise to be effective, the birds must be given 10 or 12 flights a day. Mark and Barb know that the birds must be 100% recovered or they won't survive in the wild. Each flight is carefully observed until it's certain the raptor is ready to fend for itself. Because rehabilitating an injured raptor is so difficult, less than half of the patients recover enough to be released back into their wilderness homes. As knowledge about raptors increases, the rate of successful returns is expected to grow with it. And that brings us back here out to the marshlands, where we're going to release these two owls now. Nancy, why are we picking this spot to release them?
Well, it's a fairly wild area, and there's an ample supply of food. That's rodents.
Do we expect them to actually make their homes here for a long time?
No, I would imagine they'd stay around here for a few days, and then they'd probably expand their territories.
Well, I think the time has come
Yeah,
to set
this
them
is
free.
the best reward for working with wildlife, is putting them back in the wild areas.
This is exciting, I'll
Yeah,
bet.
it's great.
Should I let mine go first?
You go first.
Okay.
Just hold there and give it a good push.
Good luck.
Okay, now it's your turn to go.
Beautiful, just beautiful. Well, Nancy, I mean, that was truly an emotional experience.
That's great.
It's almost like your children leaving home.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing it with us.